Hey guys, it's Roman Zarodyansky or Roman Zarodyansky, and this is the fundamentals to breath work. And what we're going to be focusing on is correcting breathing dysfunction. And this video is essentially for your educational purposes to build your knowledge base on why you're doing it and essentially all the mechanisms of what we're going to be talking about. A little introduction on me. When I was 23 years old, I was in a really dark space from years of prescription drugs that I was taking, antibiotics, antivirals, antifungals, so many different drugs I was put on as a kid. And over the years, the conventional medical system failed me in finding answers for my questions. I had digestive problems. I had chronic migraines 2 or 3 times a week that were very inhibiting to my life. I would get strep throat probably about 4 times every year. And it was a rough ride. It was a rough ride for a very long time. And then eventually I started to eat a little bit better and live a little bit better because I started training martial arts. And after a couple of years of competing, all of my problems surfaced to the top. And when I was 23 years old, I was in a really dark space because I loved Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I loved competing. I was on a very fast track of what I was doing because I loved it. And I was also in finishing up nursing school at the time. And when I started to compete a lot, one day I got injured and I kept pushing through it, and that injury spiraled out of control really. And I went to the doctors and they told me I had a few options. I needed to stop training jiu-jitsu, I needed to stop competing, and I probably would need to get my spine fused in the future, as well as start getting cortisone shots because the pain won't go away. This caused me to essentially spiral out of control, become depressed. I started to have panic attacks because jiu-jitsu was my therapy. And I started to suffer from insomnia because of the pain. I couldn't sleep. And during that search for answers, because I couldn't find them with conventional doctors as much as I wanted to, I discovered breathing, meditation, holistic nutrition, neurolinguistic programming, and many different incredible teachers all over the world. And once I started to see results in myself, I started to teach it to my students at my martial arts academy. I practiced with many incredible teachers, and I stand on the shoulders of giants. And I started to integrate their methodologies into my own practice, teaching in my own way the things that I learned from these books, from live events, from certification programs, from learning at the feet of these masters. And then my life really started to improve a lot in the probably mid 2015. And then eventually I was exposed to the work of one of my current teachers, Dr. Belissa Vranich, in 2016. And her work is on breathing dysfunction. And that's essentially of the bulk of what we're going to be covering in the Breathing Fundamentals program. My mission is to help people feel better with a daily practice through breathing, through movement, through nutrition, through lifestyle habits. And this is the core component of it, because the breath controls the nervous system. And our nervous system, of what we're going to be talking about soon in this video, is responsible for our complex decision making, for our habits, for our emotional responses or reactions. And it's essential that we start there. We can live without food for about 3 weeks. We can live without water for about 3 days. We can live without air, maybe 3 minutes. For some trained people, maybe more. But it's the most essential component, and that's where we're going to start. I'm going to be going back and forth on my notes to give you a bigger picture, and then we're going to be communicating so that it's not dry, it's not boring, I'm not just reading. I want you to be excited, because I'm very excited about this, because this has the potential to transform your life. Like this video, the knowledge, the wisdom here can transform your life once you put it into practice. Okay, you ready? We're going to jump in. So the first thing that we're going to be looking at is the location of your movement. There's 3 types of breathing styles. We're not going to be talking about breathing patterns for some time. We're going to be talking about breathing styles. The first breathing style is called vertical. You're using your shoulders to breathe. So watch me. Because I can't see you, because you're not one of my private clients, you're going to have to gauge yourself in front of the mirror. So if you're breathing, when you take a deep breath, looks like this, or you are a vertical breather. There's nothing wrong with that. It's perfect just the way you are for now. The next type of breathing is a horizontal breather, which is the perfect type of breather of where we're going. Horizontal breather would be breathing with this area right here. So it's and then there's a mixed breather where you're using your middle and your shoulders. Those are the 3 styles. So look at the mirror and figure out what your style of breathing is right now. So pause this video, go look in the mirror and figure out your breathing style, write it down. The next thing that we're going to be talking about is your ARF, which is your abdominal, thoracic, respiratory flexibility. How much can you expand in this area? That's going to be the difference between your inhale and your exhale. Okay. Going back to the breathing styles. Those are the 2 things that we're looking at, your range of motion and your location of motion. That's where you're going to get your grade. But before that, we're going to go into what is vertical breathing. Vertical breathing is when you breathe like this. So before I move on, in the next video, I'm going to show you how to take the measurement for yourself so that you can have your grade. So if you're a vertical breather plus the movement between the inhale and the exhale, there's going to be a chart, and you're going to be able to gauge where you're at on that chart so that you know what your starting point is and you know where we're going. In the next few videos, I'm going to give you 4 exercises for this month to practice daily so that you can improve your score and essentially improve your life. Now, let's get back to the education portion. Vertical breathing means you're using your auxiliary muscles in your neck and shoulders. This is why almost all vertical breathers that I've worked with have very, very intense pain in their neck. Their shoulders are stiff, sometimes injuries in the shoulder. I was a vertical breather, so that's essentially where I got a lot of my injuries. A lot of lower back problems as well. It can have a lot of different symptoms. A lot of the symptoms are related to pain and stiffness, sleep disturbances and bad sleep, digestive problems, because when you breathe horizontally, you're able to massage your digestive system and all of your other organs so that it stimulates them to work better. Low energy, because you're not really breathing in a lot of oxygen. Your most potent part of your lungs are down here, not up here. So when you breathe horizontally, you breathe in more oxygen. And the name of this game is who breathes more oxygen feels better. And who is usually you. So low energy, emotional health, and cognitive problems. So you're going to be able to self-regulate emotionally and psychologically a lot more powerfully and better because you breathe better. Basically, how you breathe tells your brain how to feel. And upper body vertical breathing turns on your fight, flight, or freeze response. If you've ever heard of that, good. If you haven't, that's the response that your body uses to survive. There's a lot of chemical, biological processes that happen that we'll talk about in a different video when you're in fight or flight. But essentially, when you start breathing that way, your body thinks it's under, your mind thinks it's under attack, and then it starts to pump cortisol, which is a stress hormone, and adrenaline into your body. Okay, so breathing like this is anatomically incongruous and it's biomechanically unsound. Essentially, that means we are not made to breathe this way. Breathing this way sends a message to your vagus nerve. Your vagus nerve, this is very important, so pay attention, is two matching nerves that wrap down from the brain into each side of your body. The vagus nerve stimulates GABA, which has a calming effect on your nervous system. Low levels of GABA has been linked to anxiety, mood disorder, epilepsy, and chronic pain. So when you breathe better, your vagus nerve releases or stimulates GABA, and then GABA helps to calm you down. But your vagus nerve is responsible for your nervous system. It's responsible for your sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight or flight state, okay? Fight, flight, or freeze, which is the state that most people are in at most times, which also means very like alert. You're alert, right? Because there's a range that moves between the two nervous systems. And then the parasympathetic nervous system. The parasympathetic nervous system is responsible for the other side, which is the opposite of fight, flight, or freeze. It's rest and digest. Rest and digest, or restore and repair. When is the last time you rested and digested? In our society, we are constantly on. Being busy is a badge of honor. And we don't get a chance to get into that state. But now you will through proper breathing. The vagus nerve is essentially responsible for a lot of stuff. But a healthy vagus nerve helps us to access parts of the brain that are responsible for creativity, higher cognition, and complex decision making. When it's an unhealthy vagus nerve, it's only stimulating your primal instincts, which is your fight or flight response, or your fear and your fight or flight response. To have a healthy vagus nerve is very important because if you are a leader in your life, in your family, in your business, it is crucial to have a healthy vagus nerve for complex decision making and essentially everything that makes us human. Okay, it'll make you significantly smarter to have a healthy vagus nerve because as you know, when we're in a panicked state, we usually make pretty poor decision. An unhealthy vagus nerve leads to depression, anxiety, obesity. Check it out. Obesity, 42.4% of the United States is obese. That's a crazy number. Cardiovascular disorders. Heart disease is the number one leading cause of death in the United States. Hypertension, diabetes, digestive disorders, chronic inflammation, kidney malfunction, infertility, Parkinson's. All of these things are huge problems in our society, and essentially a lot of them at the core can be combated with improving our breathing. So now we covered the vagus nerve, we covered what vertical breathing can do, and we covered the location of your movement, right? Vertical, horizontal, mixed. And in the next video, I'm going to show you how to take a proper measurement of yourself so that you can give yourself a grade on where you are in your movements. All right, so I'll see you in the next video. Make sure you write down some notes so that you can ask any questions in the group that you have on what we're talking about. I'll see you guys in the next video.